The lost generation, despite existing over a century ago, shares striking similarities with today's world. Young men and women of that era faced war, a pandemic, economic hardship, and shifting social dynamics, much like we do now. World War I was devastating for this generation, with over 70 million people mobilized, resulting in 8.5 million deaths, 21 million wounded, and 2 million more dying from disease. The Spanish flu pandemic of 1918-1920 added to the suffering, with death toll estimates ranging from 17 million to possibly as high as 100 million worldwide. Following the war and the pandemic, the world plunged into economic chaos, leading to the Great Depression of the 1930s. This era was marked by soaring unemployment, widespread poverty, and a pervasive sense of despair. Amid these harsh realities, popular culture began to flourish, offering a much-needed escape through early cinema and magazines. Women, too, saw significant societal shifts. The right to vote was granted in 1920, and new job opportunities emerged for unmarried women, many of whom had become widows due to the war. This period also gave rise to the flapper, a symbol of a new, liberated young woman who defied traditional norms with a more carefree, rebellious lifestyle. Today, the lost generation is remembered for its remarkable resilience in the face of adversity. Their experiences offer valuable insights for contemporary and future generations, illustrating how to navigate through times of profound upheaval and change. The greatest generation, also known as the World War II generation, left an indelible mark on history with their bravery, resilience, and contributions to technological and cultural advancements. This generation witnessed a period of rapid innovation and prosperity as inventions like the radio, telephone, and automobile became integral parts of everyday life. The cultural landscape of the era was vibrant and dynamic, with literature, arts, music, and cinema flourishing during what is often referred to as the Golden Age of Hollywood. The popularity of gangster films, musicals, comedies, and monster movies captivated audiences across the nation, while comic books introduced iconic characters like Superman and Batman, shaping the imaginations of generations to come. Music, too, played a significant role in defining the era, with genres like jazz, blues, gospel, folk, and swing jazz gaining widespread popularity. The rise of the radio allowed Americans to connect with each other and stay informed, with President Roosevelt's fireside chats becoming a staple of the nation's collective consciousness. The greatest generation's impact extends far beyond cultural and technological realms, as millions of its members answered the call to serve during World War II. Whether as volunteers or draftees, these individuals demonstrated extraordinary courage and sacrifice, with approximately 671,000 Americans making the ultimate sacrifice for their country. Today, nearly 120,000 veterans of that conflict remain, a living testament to the enduring legacy of the greatest generation. The silent generation, born between the mid-1920s and early 1940s, came of age during a tumultuous period marked by the aftermath of World War II and the onset of the Cold War. Unlike the preceding generations, who experienced the upheaval of war firsthand, the silent generation grew up in the shadow of global conflict, witnessing the fall of Nazism and the emergence of communism as a new threat. As they entered adulthood, they faced a world grappling with the devastation of war and the ideological divide between East and West. The post-war era saw the United States and the Soviet Union locked in a geopolitical struggle that would define much of the 20th century. Unlike the more vocal and activist generations before them, the silent generation tended to adopt a more cautious and pragmatic approach to societal change. They believed in working within existing systems rather than challenging them outright. Despite their quieter approach to social change, the silent generation's contributions to society were significant, laying the groundwork for economic prosperity and stability in the post-war era. Their resilience and commitment to hard work helped shape the world we live in today. The baby boomer generation, born between the mid-1940s and mid-1960s, is perhaps one of the most iconic and impactful cohorts in modern history. Characterized by a remarkable surge in birth rates, totaling 76 million births during their peak years, boomers emerged into a world shaped by the aftermath of World War II and a booming post-war economy. Economic prosperity fueled by a robust industrial base led to a sense of optimism and confidence among Americans, encouraging them to embrace larger families and consumerism. Boomers became a prime target for marketers, influencing trends across various industries, from toys to music records. Technological advancements during this era revolutionized daily life, making once luxurious items like laundry machines, dishwashers, refrigerators, and telephones accessible to the average household. Breakthroughs in materials science and electronics, such as plastics, television, magnetic tape, transistors, integrated circuits, and lasers, further elevated living standards and reshaped societal norms. Generation X, born roughly between the mid-1960s and early 1980s, emerged into a rapidly changing social landscape characterized by increased divorce rates, rising maternal workforce participation, and the proliferation of childcare options outside the home. Often referred to as the latchkey generation, many Gen X children returned from school to empty homes, using spare keys to let themselves in, a consequence of evolving parenting styles and societal shifts. Young adults of this era, dubbed the MTV generation, were sometimes stereotyped as slackers, cynical, and disaffected, reflecting a sense of disillusionment with traditional institutions inherited from the baby boomer generation. Millennials, also known as Generation Y, represent a transformative era in history, being the first cohort to come of age in a world dominated by the internet, mobile technology, and social media. Connected to a global network from a young age, millennials are often described as the first truly global generation, with access to information and cultures from around the world. However, despite their digital fluency and interconnectedness, millennials have faced unique economic challenges, earning them the moniker of the unluckiest generation. Since entering the workforce, they have experienced slower economic growth compared to previous generations, compounded by factors such as soaring student debt and rising childcare costs. Generation Z, often referred to as Zoomers, represents a generation that has seamlessly integrated into a digital world from the moment of their birth. Unlike millennials, who adapted to the internet and smartphones during their formative years, Zoomers were born into this digital landscape, shaping their worldview and experiences from the outset. Zoomers have grown up amidst a whirlwind of social and political change, witnessing the emergence of social justice movements, the tumultuous era of American politics marked by figures like Donald Trump, and the profound impact of events like the Black Lives Matter protests and the COVID-19 pandemic. Lockdowns during the pandemic disrupted traditional aspects of their high school and college experiences, highlighting their resilience and adaptability in the face of adversity. Generation Alpha, the cohort born from around 2010 onwards, represents a generation whose future is still largely unwritten. Raised predominantly by millennials, they are often referred to as the pandemic generation, having experienced the disruptions and changes brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic during their formative years. Growing up in a world shaped by rapid technological advancements, Generation Alpha is characterized by their familiarity with digital devices and the internet from a young age. Dubbed the iPad kids, they spend less time with their parents on average compared to previous generations, instead exhibiting a greater sense of independence and self-direction in their activities.